What is up, guys, and welcome back to Electrix Moto. Today is the day that I think everybody's been waiting for, where we actually take this bike out in the dirt and see what it can do. There you go. All right, so here's the plan. We're gonna take the Arctic Leopard XE Pro S out in the dirt, and we're gonna work through some sand tracks. We're gonna work through some whoops, some turns, and we're gonna see what this bike has. We're also gonna take it on a short trail ride, just so we can get cover the whole base of what you may be doing with this bike. I'm going to ride it, and we're also gonna put our faithful Cohen on the bike because he is much faster than me. So we're gonna see if this bike can stand up to all the types of riding that you may be interested in doing. So I'm gonna get my helmet on, and we're gonna get on the trail. All right, so we are now out here looking for some good trails to ride, because I think a lot of people were gonna be riding this bike in a more trail setting versus track style, because I don't think this bike is set up for that. So we're gonna go try to find some of these trails over here, and I'm gonna be honest, they're a bit gnarly, but we gotta find them first. Where at? All right, what we're gonna do is look for one of these offshoots, and they're pretty gnarly. This is not what I would consider an easy trail, but it's more about making sure that this bike can do it, and I think I just passed it. All right, the beginning of the torture test. This bike has a lot to live up to because it is working against an E-Ride 2.0, E-Ride 3.0, even some would say the E-Ride SR based on its power, 20 kilowatts a peak. Now, I'm only running this in the second power mode, and that's mostly because these tight turns and the up and down really doesn't work on a super high power mode because you're just spinning this tire. Like, it just can't hook up. But this dual sport tire should perform flawlessly under these conditions. So one thing I do notice, and you'll probably hear it, is that shock under the seat really compresses a great deal. I know this is what some would consider, oh gosh, an upgraded KKE fork. However, it seems to be at the end of its stroke, which is less than ideal considering the bike weight and my body weight. Now, in these conditions, everything else pretty much feels great. I am a fan of these type of tires on this type of terrain. Probably could even go with a 241 Shinko versus like the 244 that's on this dual sport. It holds up a lot better than you think it would. And this right here is not probably what most people ride, where it's just sand, roller after roller. But for the factory components, depending upon how you ride, this bike can do everything you need and more. And I'm gonna be honest, the 20 kilowatts of power, as I generally say, unless you're riding like street style, this isn't more than enough. All right, let's try to get out of their dust a little bit and talk about this bike and what we think after about 60 miles, a total of 60 miles that we've ridden on this bike, and who it's for, because I think in maybe some of the previous videos I overstated how good this bike is. Now granted, listen, the bike for the money is incredible. However, I would say that the 3.0 is actually a better built bike after 100 miles. The components are very similar, but the E-Ride just feels more solid. The one thing, and I'm comparing it to the 3.0 still, because I think the SR is still kind of one of those bikes that's an enigma. Only a few people have them. They're kind of hard to get. They're not very common that people are riding them, and they're expensive. It just prices way above this bike. So what I would say is that this is perfect for somebody who wants the power, but maybe this style of riding isn't your thing. It's not that it can't do it, and it can do it successfully. However, I can feel the bike really taking a whooping. I can hear the clanks and the bangs, and it doesn't feel as solid as it should when you're taking into consideration this bike only has 100 miles on it. The speed is great. The throttle delivery is better than any small E-moto you're gonna get. Really any big E-moto you're gonna get too, if I'm being honest. But I don't think that this bike beats the 3.0. Obviously the 3.0 is more expensive, but it's definitely something, a bike to consider if you're trying to work within a budget, but at the same time get a bike that's capable. I just don't know if I would ride this bike in these conditions on a regular basis.
So the day got cut a little bit short. We ended up with a big spiky thing in the front tire, which is a perfect reason to get a new front tire, because I would say riding this bike through the type of terrain we were on, super sandy, loose, that's tough for any bike, especially a bike with a dual sport style tire on it. So this will give us a chance to put the new stuff on this bike. Now, we have had a general consensus going about the width of these handlebars. The man behind the camera, Josh, was just talking about how he couldn't ride this bike. It just wasn't comfortable for him because how narrow the bars are. And when you have a really narrow bar, a smaller movement makes a bigger adjustment to the front tire. So you extending those bars a little bit just gives you more leverage over that front wheel, and you can make more micro adjustments, or at least that's the way it feels on this bike. Now, I will say that the suspension, like I was talking about on the trail, is probably taking a beating. By probably, I mean absolutely getting worked, and I'm not sure if this bike is going to hold up to consistent hard riding like we were doing today. I think people who are more mellow on their bikes, have more flowy trails that they're interested in, this bike would suit you well. But if you want to really rip through some loose dirt or some really big rocks, I'm not sure this bike is going to be the one that you want to do that with. However, for the price, I'm not sure that there's a better bike power to price ratio available. Therefore, I am still excited to continue to build upon this platform and see where this takes us. If you guys have any questions, particularly as it pertains to this bike or any of the things we were doing today, please leave a comment. And we are going to get this bike back, get some tires changed, make some adjustments, and we're going to come back out here and give it another go. So we will see you guys on the next one.